All right, welcome to the last class we're doing here. Today we're not talking about anything academic, we're talking about the travel portion of the trip. So first thing, we have faculty assistants. I've invited them to join us. We have Dr. Jill Maher from the Department of Marketing and Professor Carol McPhail from the Department of Accounting. They will be joining us on the trip. Some of you may have at one point been led to believe that Dave Budichewski would be with us. That's true, but 5 weeks ago Dave told me he couldn't make the trip. And that's when Professor McPhail agreed to step in. We're also going to have a mystery person. This is highly interesting to me. As it turns out that under the current contract, last Tuesday at 12:40 in the afternoon, I was informed I had to have another support person because we have to maintain a 1-to-6 ratio up until 24 students. So my choices were to kick one of you off the program and bring it to 23 so it wouldn't be necessary. And I thought we'd do it like Survivor, we'd have all your names in a hat and you draw, and whoever came up with the name, they wouldn't be able to go. But I thought that might lead to problems. So since it is contractually obligated, I did in fact find it in the new contract and went, huh, what do you know? Page 47 if you're interested. And it's kind of funny because they will only pay up for 3. So if we had 40, they wouldn't give us anybody extra. So I don't really understand the logic of it, but at any rate, they tell me I need somebody. So I've met with the Center for Global Engagement. Per their suggestions of what I should do, I have contacted 3 people. They've all said, sounds wonderful. Can't do it, got other obligations. So right now, as of this morning, I'm sort of in limbo on this. They tell me that if I don't find somebody, they'll find somebody for me. So I get along really well with our janitor at Massey. So he's going to be my last one to ask if I can't find somebody because he is technically considered staff. And he's a very nice guy, easy to get along with. So we'll see. So don't be surprised when you show up at the airport that there's another person with us. I'll tell you who it is when we get there. So when I'm not around, their word is absolute. They are along to provide general support, assist with travel logistics, etc. And what we will do is we're going to have 6 of you will report to them at night. And I have not yet decided how we're going to arrange that, but that's how that's going to happen. So for the travel part of it, we are leaving on May 13th. Flight leaves at 2:45. I have been requested by the Center for Global Engagement to have everybody there 3 hours ahead of time because it's a group check-in. I've done this in the past. It's been a tremendous waste of time. So as far as I'm concerned, be at the airport by 12:30. I'll be hanging around somewhere visible. We'll get everybody together and I'll talk to the United people by then. And they claim it's going to be a group check-in. And so we will all process then. I'll make sure everybody's through security before I come through. And we'll be ready to start our day. When we arrive, if the flight goes on time, we'll arrive at the Brussels airport on day number 2 at 7:15 in the morning. As of right now, a bus is tentatively scheduled to pick us up at 9:15. I haven't actually seen the paperwork on it yet. In fact, I haven't seen any of the paperwork. They'll give me a whole sheet of documents somewhere in the next week or 2. And then I'll be able to confirm everything. But from my conversations with the gentleman, Phil, that I'm working with at the Center for Global Engagement, he assures me this is all taken care of. So we have the bus scheduled for 9:15. This gives us 2 hours to clear customs and get through there and have something to eat or drink. From there, we'll go directly to the European Union facility that we're going to take a tour at. And so I would like everyone to be in business casual for that. So pack something in your suitcase that you can easily retrieve once we are through customs. And then after that, we're going to, I've requested that we have the bus for the entire day so we can secure our luggage in it. And after we make our visit to the EU facility, we will go to the Grand Place area of Brussels, which in my opinion is the most interesting part of Brussels. And we'll spend 3.5 hours where you'll be able to grab some food and go look around. If you're just dying to take a picture of the little kid peeing, that's just a couple blocks off the Grand Place, also known as the Mannequin Piece. And it's a very well-known tourist site. I find it really quite funny to go and see because I don't get what the big deal is, but and they dress the guy up.
What's it called again?
Mannequin Piece, the pissing man.
Ah. Hey, that helps.
Okay. And they
Thank you.
and they dress them up in costumes for holidays and things like that. It's just like I don't know why it became so famous, but it's not too far away. And then at mid-afternoon, we will head for Antwerp and the hotel. Day number 3, on May 15th, I had originally planned for us to do a combination walking tour of the Diamond District with a guide, and then go into the actual Diamond Exchange and see how that functions. They no longer offer that tour, but they proposed something else to us, which looks interesting to me. I've never done it, so this is the first time. We're going to go to what's called the Sparkler Atelier and do 2 of their workshops. The first one will talk about the diamond industry, which is what we hope to accomplish with the walking tour anyhow, so I figured it was a good substitute. And then the second one, we're going to play around with diamonds apparently. So I thought that might be kind of interesting to see what that's all about. So they'll show how the behind the scenes part of the industry, how they grade the diamonds, whether they're going to be industrial diamonds or go into jewelry, that type of thing. So that's what we will do from roughly, I believe, 9:30 to 12:30, and then the rest of the day will be open for observational research. On day 4, this is when you get to catch up on your sleep. I figure by that point we'll have you tired out a fair amount. And so the port tour is scheduled for the afternoon, and bus pickup won't be until 11 a.m. So there's no reason to really jump out of bed that day, unless you want to. Part of the tour involves lunch at the Port Facility Welcome Center that they have there. Don't get overly excited about this. It's very basic. Sandwiches, a couple pieces of fruit, things like that. Sort of typical Belgian fare, as far as I'm concerned. We're going to be going through, if the tour is conducted the same way it was 2 years ago when I went through there, we're going to be going through various buildings where they have heavy equipment operating, so they require that you have closed shoes, so make sure you have closed shoes for this tour. Not sure what a closed toe shoe will do if a fork truck runs over your foot, but as opposed to wearing sandals, but we will comply with them. It's the last time somebody didn't, and we couldn't go through all the buildings to see how the operations are conducted. Day 5 is a travel day. It turned out, based on my investigations, that it was cheaper to fly from Brussels down to Nice than to take the train. Plus, I was looking for a way to avoid what I call the wagon train effect, where we have all of you strung out through the train station. If we went into Paris, we would have to change train stations, take the metro, and go over to another train station. And I just, having done that with 33 students 3 years ago, you feel like you're in one of the old westerns where the people are looking down on you from the canyon walls, and you're like, oh, they're going to swoop down on us at any point. So instead, we found that we could fly down there. So we will take the train to the Brussels airport. There's a direct train right from Antwerp. They'll take us to the airport. We're going to fly out at 1:05 p.m. We will arrive at the Côte d'Azur airport at 2:50. There's a local bus. There's a tram they're working on that would be really nice to use, but it's not finished to the airport yet. But we'll take the bus into the central train station, then we'll walk to the hotel. I estimate it's a 7 to 8 minute walk from the train station. And then the remainder of the day will be open on that Friday. Then we have a weekend. So you have a weekend on the French Riviera. Not too shabby, in my estimation. On day 6, on May 18th, I'm planning to go up to St. Paul de Vence. It's a old walled city up in the Maritime Alps, about an hour away, hour north of Nice. If you want to come along with me, we'll leave the hotel about 9, and then we will return early in the afternoon probably. From what I remember from the schedule, it's about an hour bus ride up there. And it's been recommended to me by several people. I was supposed to go up there in December, but the weather was so bad the day I was going to go that I didn't go. And then on the next day, I'm going to go over to Monte Carlo in Monaco. I haven't been there in a long time. I want to go back and wander around, so if you want to hop on the train with me, I'll give you information once we're there. It's kind of a fascinating little municipality because it's its own country. So it's interesting. Now, if any of you want to just completely chill out on either of these days and go to the beach, be aware of the following. The beaches at Nice are rocky. They're pebbles, stones, whatever you want to call them. They're not comfortable. So many of the people that go to the beaches are both public and private. Private simply means you just pay somebody. It's not like you have to belong to a club or do an initiation, anything like that. There's no slaughtering of pigs on the altar or anything of that nature. So you simply pay, and then you get one of the chaise lounge chairs to lay in, or a cabana or whatever. I've never done it because I'm not a big beach person. So if you want to do that, know that there are options in Nice. Based on what I've checked into, though, my recommendation would be that you hop on the train and go to Antibes, Antibes. It has a sand beach, natural sand beach, that sits in the port area. And from what I can gather, it's a pretty easy walk from the train station. So I think you would find that much more pleasant. If any of you are looking to have the experience of your life by going to a nude beach, have at it, but there's none that are really close by. It would take you probably about half the day by the various transportation to get there, so I don't really recommend that. And the weather should be pretty good at that time of the year. When I've been in Nice at that time of the year, used to, I don't know if they still do, but they would have all these charters that would come from England. You have all these pasty white Brits down there, and after 2 days, they just look like lobsters walking around. All right, on day 8, on Monday, May 20th, that's our Perfume Industry Day. We're going to be leaving Grasse tentatively at 8 a.m. And it's about an hour ride by bus up into Grasse. We're going to have a morning program. We're still waiting on all the details. Isabelle Tarrant has sent me the basic schedule. She was out for 2 weeks. She was back in last week, but I haven't heard from her yet. But now, having heard from her, I'm not too concerned. For a while there, I was getting panicked. I was like, why won't you respond? She's going to arrange for a group lunch for us, and then we'll have an afternoon program. And then for those of you that want to do the optional perfume making workshop, I have that booked with Molinauer, and they're ready and willing to meet with you. And the rest of you will be free to wander around Grasse and see its various architectural features and shopping, etc. And then around 5:30, we will all get on the coach and return to Nice. On the 21st, we're going to have a Marketing the French Riviera to Foreigners lecture. It's going to be at the Palais de Congrès in Nice. It's not very far from our hotel. I estimate we can probably walk, but if not, there's the tram line that is working, goes right by there. And the program is scheduled from 10 to 11, and the rest of the afternoon is going to be open for observational research. So, and if you haven't looked at the observational research assignments on Blackboard yet, you should probably do that before you leave. Then on May 22nd, that will be our travel day to Paris. Again, you can sleep in that morning because the train they booked for us departs at 10:57. This is one of the French bullet trains, TGV, which is simply train à grande vitesse. And it'll have us up in Paris at 4:53 p.m. And the great thing is right across the street from the train station is the hotel. So we won't be lugging our luggage very far. Group dinner, that's no longer pending. As of this morning, the restaurant that I want to use doesn't have a website. So a week ago Friday, I mailed a letter airmail. I can't remember the last time I've done that. And even I asked the people at the post office, people still do this? They go, yeah, not very many. Well, just this morning when I opened up my email, Arturo from the Petit Hostellerie, I don't remember which one it is, responded, and he's proposed a couple different fixed price menus to me, which the CGE has assured me we have it in our budget to pay for. So I'll be making arrangements with him, so I know that this is going to be taken care of. And then after that, we will look at, you're free to go and do whatever you want, quite frankly, but what will happen is, I find that most people enjoy going and seeing the Eiffel Tower light up at night. They have this sort of dramatic thing that they do. So if you're interested, I'm going to have to go back to the hotel because I've got to go buy some passes for us from the train station. And so I'll probably leave the hotel about 9 p.m. It doesn't light up till 10 p.m. So if you are feeling a little nervous about being in Paris and want to go with somebody who knows where they're going, then follow me back to the hotel, and then we'll leave the hotel at 9, and we'll go over to the overlook at Trocadero, which looks down on the Seine River and across to where the Eiffel Tower is, and then we'll join thousands of people. If you've ever been to Key West and watched the sunset, and people are yelling and jumping around, it's sort of like that kind of scene, only in a very French way. So it's actually kind of fun to do. And it's a great view of the Eiffel Tower.
Steve, I assume there's food on the train you can buy for lunch that
Yep,
day?
yep, the train has a restaurant car, or you can buy stuff in the train station before you get on. And I would suggest you probably buy it in the train station. Unless you want to walk around the train. Don't care about that. All right, day 11. We will be in Paris, and we will head into the metro about 8 a.m. We're scheduled to be over at the American Business School in Paris for a presentation from 9 to 10:30. For this presentation, this is the one that's supposed to be on the Disneyland case. The person who's my contact, for some reason, is out for 3 weeks. I don't know. It makes no sense to me. And of course, I contacted her about a month ago. And because I'm trying to find out more about this presentation, because if it's going to be on the Disneyland case, I have proposed to them that we do it as a competition, but I've heard nothing more back from them, so I don't have any updates on that. Then after that finishes, I'm going to give you each, I'm going to form you into teams, and you're each going to have a research assignment, and you'll be sent off to go to various parts of Paris, and then meet me at a designated location at 1 p.m., which I'll tell you at that point. At that, during the afternoon, your other observational research that can be done will take place, and then you're free the rest of the day. On the 24th, day 12, we will again be at the American Business School in Paris. Everybody can travel there however they want to, because you'll have done it the day before, and I'm confident that you can find your way over there. So if you want to leave early or if you want to leave late, as long as you're there by 9, I don't care. And the way the American Business School in Paris works, when you go in, there's security, so that's why the first day we need to get there pretty early, because they have to process all of us in for this. After that presentation, which should be on luxury marketing in France, we're going to do another observational research assignment in Galeries Lafayette, the flagship store for Galeries Lafayette, an amazing place to go to. And so everybody will wander off to Galeries Lafayette via the metro, and then we'll meet at 1 p.m. out on their terrace. They have a 7th floor terrace that looks out on the opera and the rest of Paris. It's a lovely place, provided the weather's good. And after that, observational research from 1:30 to 3:30, and again, you're free to do whatever else you want to do the remainder of the day. Then we come to the most interesting day on the schedule, primarily because it's the most problematic. It's Saturday. If you've been following anything about what's been going on, the protests are continuing in Paris by the Yellow Vest group, and some of the political parties joined them this past weekend. May 1st is a big day for marches in Paris, and it's expected that they're going to be joined that day by people. Now, I'm not concerned about the protests per se. And understand this doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about your safety or any of that. It's not that. The protests is always fairly well known where they're going to occur, and it's very easy to stay away from them, which is what we will do. The problem is, and I'm going to have to check with somebody that I know in Paris and find out, because I can't find this information on the internet. I've been trying. But when I was there in December, the problem is that they shut down roughly 65 to 70 metro stations in the core of the city. And so most of the interesting things that you would want to do as a tourist, it's very hard to get there. Plus they've been blocking off the Champs-Élysées, even though there haven't been any parades or protest marches on there. So this is somewhat problematic. Paris, I won't say it's boring, but if we're very restricted in where we can go, it is going to be kind of boring that day. So I've contacted Versailles. I haven't gotten an answer yet to find out, because back in December when this was all really flaring up, most of the tourist sites were closing down on Saturdays. From everything I can tell from the Versailles website, they aren't closing now on Saturdays. They're not worried about it. So originally I was thinking about going to Versailles on Sunday, but yesterday I started thinking about it. I thought, why don't we just go to Versailles on Saturday instead, because it's outside of Paris, and the train station we need to go to is right across the river from our hotel, Gare d'Austerlitz, so that's not a problem. Or, as I've already proposed to the CGE, we could go down to the Loire Valley and go visit one of the chateau towns. And, that also would be a viable opportunity. So that's going to be perhaps not a game time decision, but we'll update you before we leave as far as what I know about what's going on. And then depending on what we do on May 25th, we'll sort of determine what happens on May 26th. My only reluctance to go to the Loire Valley is if you're in Paris and you've never been to Paris, you should stay in Paris and see stuff. I mean, it's not like we're there for a tremendously long period of time, so there's certainly plenty of things to do. So right now, this is what we're going to have to figure out.
Is our restaurant left bank, right bank?
5th arrondissement, 35 Rue de la Harpe.
Which side of the river is that?
Left side.
Left side.
And
okay.
it's right along the border between the 5th and 6th arrondissement. And don't get overly joyous. I mean, the food is fine, but it's not like we're going to the Jules Verne up on the Eiffel Tower. It's also not $400 a meal. So, which is what. And by the way, if you even want to do that, the name of the restaurant on the Eiffel Tower is the Jules Verne. And so if you want to make reservations, but bring along a coat and tie and a dress, if they have a dress code. The food is superb. I've done it one time. And it was really very interesting because they would give me the mail, the menu with the prices, and my girlfriend at the time, they just gave her a menu with no prices. And,
How quaint.
Yes. So chauvinism continues to live in Paris. I don't know, I've never been there. It is pretty remarkable, though. All right, so on May 27th, just like that, we're coming back home. We've got to get out to Charles de Gaulle Airport, CDG. And so this is the unpleasant morning as far as I'm concerned. We have to get up and get moving because the passes I'm going to have for you are good to go to Charles de Gaulle. And so we're going to be traveling the RER, which is a regional train line. And we've got to get over to Corse-Marlin station. So we'll be going from the Gare de Lyon over to, I think it's Châtelet, Les Halles, and then we get on the train and it goes directly out to Charles de Gaulle. So once we navigate that one portion of it, it'll be easy to do. We get into Newark at 11:50. I plan no sightseeing in Newark because there's nothing worth seeing in Newark as far as I'm concerned. And so we'll just all hang out there going, oh my God, we got to spend 3 hours here. And then we'll fly back to Pittsburgh. All right, so packing considerations other than what the Center for Global Engagement talked to you about is obviously you need your passport, any medicines you're taking. Bring along a student ID. Some places will give you discounts if you can demonstrate that you're a college student. Washable clothing, etc. I know this sounds really kind of weird, but they don't have washcloths in their bathrooms. So if you are used to using like a loofah or a washcloth to clean your body, you probably want to bring one along because you won't find them in the hotels. Also, in 2 weeks, it's probably a little much to ask that we don't run into any rain. So northern France and Belgium are sitting right off of the coast like they are, or not too far inland. It's pretty typical to get rain, so I suggest you bring an umbrella or some sort of rain jacket. You're going to walk more than you traditionally walk around here or typically walk around here. That's one of the biggest complaints I hear from students, that their legs are aching because we drive everywhere here, and you'll be walking just about everywhere in Europe. And again, the pair of closed-toe shoes for those situations. Electrical converters, they run on a different electrical current, and so you'll want to have an electrical converter that you can buy at a number of travel stores. or order online. And so do that, otherwise stuff's not going to work for you. Snacks. It's a time-honored tradition. We'll have breakfast provided every morning at every hotel we're staying at. So it's a time-honored tradition to grab a piece of fruit or something and stuff it in your bag for later in the day. Nobody will say anything to you. They will say something if you take the whole bowl and dump it in your backpack, okay? But as long as you just grab one piece of fruit, something like that, nobody's going to say anything to you. And I suggest you do that because we don't know what we're going to be running into. Again, beachwear, if you decide you want to go to the beach, you'll want to have something for the beach. And remember, you pack it, you carry it. We have no porters on this trip. So we're going to, my suggestion is, of course I use this suggestion with my wife all the time and she never follows it. But you probably are not going to need as much as you think you're going to need. And do the old mix and match type of wardrobe type of planning so that you're not encumbered, because in some of these places we are going to have to go up and downstairs probably with your backpacks. Some of the elevators in the hotels, you will be amazed at how small they are. You'll also be amazed that they rival the speed of the hotel or the elevator in Massey, which is to say they're really slow. So when we've got a whole bunch of us standing there, if you've got luggage that's bigger than you are, you're probably going to only fit yourself and that luggage into the elevator, and it's going to take us forever to get everybody to their rooms. So think about that.
Steve, can I add one thing to that?
Yep.
My experience in Europe is that they don't have irons in hotel rooms like we have here. And even when you call down to the front desk to try to get one, you may not get one. And sometimes there's one like on the floor that everyone on that floor shares. So if you want a travel steamer, if you're a freak about wrinkles like I am, especially when we need to look presentable in some places, you might want to take a travel steamer with you because it's not that easy to get irons in my experience.
True. I prefer the rumpled look, so I've never had to worry too much about the steamer.
I'll say one thing.
Girls in the room know what I'm
Another
talking
thing too, pickpocketing is, what's the word? Very common,
Prevalent.
very prevalent. So if you're a lady, and I can't think of what this is called, my 3 daughters would kill me, but what's the kind of purse? It's a crossbody purse. A crossbody purse that you can have in front of you at all times and see what's going on is a good thing to have. Zippers don't have an open bag like we have here, like, you know, my daughter's saying I'm going to get ripped off every time I walk in Giant Eagle because my purse is open. That's just asking for trouble. So even if you have a big sack on the plane, have a crossbody to walk around with. Guys, do what you want. But men in Europe take purses, and they're crossbody purses. So you're going to get, guys get a purse.
All right, other considerations. When they book the train tickets, they usually just give me a sheet of paper, and it lists the car that we're in and the seats. It's not actually an actual ticket, which I immediately recognized the first time I encountered this as complete chaos. So I will actually, before we go, I'll print off little slips of paper that have seat numbers on them, and I'll hand them out when we get to the train station so that you know where to go. For the Paris Metro and the RER, the first night that we're there, I'm going to go into the train station or the metro station, and I'll buy carnets. They're blocks of 10 tickets, individual tickets. I'll buy a bunch of those, and everybody will get 4 tickets for that first night that we're in Paris. Then thereafter, we're going to have a 5-day Paris Visite pass. You can buy this for the various zones. I requested from the Center for Global Engagement that we buy it for the 5 zones, because that includes Versailles, Charles de Gaulle, and Disneyland. So if anybody wants to go to Disneyland, you can use this for all the travel. Okay, so what's interesting about this, though, that they typically don't explain to you, and I know this only because I got caught by it. To me, when I buy a 5-day pass or a 3-day pass, it starts from when the first time I use it, right? That's not how this pass works. If we use it at 6 p.m. to go to the restaurant, it counts as though it started at midnight. So you've already used up 1 day. So that's why Wednesday night we're not going to distribute those passes. because we want them to be valid for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday when we go to the airport. Otherwise, we're going to have just a complete panic, so to speak. Also, with this, that pass offers discounts to some of the tourist sites, so you always want to show that you have that and see if you get some money off. Social media. We've been requested that we have a social media presence with the School of Business and the Center for Global Engagement. And so they want pictures, updates, news, astrology reports, etc. while we're traveling. And so Abby has agreed that she's going to be our social media maven. So you'll want to coordinate with her, and it's going to be up to her to figure out how to contact the School of Business, CGE. The only thing I've ever sent back to the CGE was when we were on the bus from Switzerland to Paris, or to France 3 years ago. You looked at the back down the bus from the front, and all the students were there just passed out. So I took a picture and sent it with the caption, "Students enjoying the beautiful scenery in Switzerland." And apparently, you got a lot of hits. I don't know. All right. So what are my expectations? All right. So this is the really important part from my standpoint. I've designed the program so there's plenty of free time. I think it's just as important that you get out into the culture and experience things as it is to have actual structured academic meetings and things. As I explained at our kickoff meeting, I don't have a curfew. I operate on the basis of trust. I also explained at that meeting that I do not have any children of my own, so I have no parental instincts whatsoever. These two do, they've informed me. But I'm the lead person on this, so I get to set the rules. And so I'm trusting you.
Famous last words.
And the way I operate on this is also I approach this very much from a managerial perspective. If you screw up, there's no debating about anything, there's no discussion. The hammer just comes down and it affects everybody. So don't screw it up for everybody else. We are also going to be within an hour of a major airport, wherever we are, and I will have no hesitation about putting you on a plane and sending you back here. So, go out, have a good time, stay out late if you want, I don't care. Just behave in a fashion that's not going to cause any trouble for anybody else. And we'll get along just fine. I know there's other fleets where they have, you sign some agreement and things of that nature, and I understand that, but that's just not the way I typically operate. So, go on out if you want. My expectations are that if you go out at night, come in at 1 in the morning, yeah, that's fine. Don't have a problem with it. But be ready to go the next morning whenever we're ready to leave. Okay? Anytime we've got something scheduled, I expect you to be there on time, ready to go. We'll divide us up into 6 students per support person, and at 11 p.m. every night, check in with us. Doesn't mean you have to be in the hotel. It means that you have to tell us where you are. And the reason for this is if you're not there in the morning, we have a starting location to start looking for you to figure out where you might be. And hopefully this will never be an issue, but you never know. Use the buddy system when you're there, which is to say always have somebody with you, preferably be in a group of 3 or 4. I don't consider any of the places we're going to be extremely dangerous, but there are certainly parts of Paris you don't want to go into. Just as I'm sure there's parts of Antwerp that aren't the best. And generally, if you've got several people with you, you are not going to find yourself in a bad situation most of the time. Be respectful of other hotel guests in the local environment, especially at night. I was just down in New Orleans with the American Marketing Association, and despite pleas from the organizers of the conference, it was not uncommon to be awakened at 2 in the morning in the hotel by people walking down the hallway. Oh, we had a great time in the corner. Yeah, it was really rocking, man. It's like morons. Okay. One thing that I am extremely sensitive to, and I'm not sensitive to many things, but the thing I'm extremely sensitive to, having lived in France on a couple different occasions. In the 1970s, 80s, it was very common to hear the term ugly Americans, which was directed at Americans in general because of the way they would behave and how they acted. And I don't want to hear anything about that. So I don't want to hear any complaints from the hotel staff about people coming in late, making a lot of noise or any of that kind of stuff. Why is this doing this now? Be aware of pickpockets, as Professor McPhail noted. So far, the only things that I've lost with any of my students would be one iPhone that got pickpocketed on the metro coming from Montparnasse, one of the train stations in Paris, going across Paris. And so make sure you can safeguard your cell phones, your Metro passes, your money, something. Also, I'm smart, but I'm not clairvoyant. So if something's bothering you at any point, just tell me, or tell one of our support personnel, and then we can figure out if there's a solution or put you at ease. I understand that for many of you that have never been to a place like Paris, you're not used to using some of the transit. It can be a little overwhelming initially, but that's part of the design that I have as far as first going out as a group, then sending out smaller groups to do observational research to force you to use the metro and become familiar with it. And quite frankly, you can probably find your way around the metro better than I can because of all the apps that are out there now. I don't use an app, I just look at the map and figure out where I'm going. But you can find stuff that will tell you pretty much step by step what's going on. All right, so now it's your turn to ask me questions if you have any questions about anything, things that you want to know. Yeah?
So we're gonna need business casual clothes, but are we gonna need like professional clothes for
Nope.
everything?
No. No, just a nice shirt, slacks, something like that. Yeah.
For the plane, do we pick where we want to sit? Or
No, seats are all assigned.
Okay,
Although it's a group ticket, everyone's got a designated seat.
okay.
Yep.
So you assign.
No, I didn't. I don't even know who's sitting with me.
Airlines.
The Center for Global Engagement has purchased all of those. So when we get to the airport, well,
You can move around.
You can switch
You
with
can
your
switch
friends.
with
it's
someone.
switch, I don't care.
Just sit down and then
Figure it
once we
out
get
later.
going on, you can switch around.
Got it.
Just know that if you take that seat with the emergency exit, you are responsible for that. You don't get off first. So just be aware.
So for people who haven't flown internationally, there'll be a full meal with more alcohol than you would want on the flight over. I don't recommend
Free.
drinking a lot of it. Yeah, it's complimentary, but you'll feel like crap the next morning, so.
And I also would recommend, people might tell you, oh, take something to sleep, you're gonna wanna sleep. While that sounds good in theory, if you're a person who would take some kind of sleep aid and have a very hard time waking up, I would say don't do that. Because when we, as you can see, when we wake up, we have to hit the ground running. We've got 2 hours to go through customs, to get changed. So, I mean, if you want like a melatonin or something like that, that's fine, but I certainly would not take, you know, some, I don't even know what the names of those things are, but I wouldn't take them. Because sometimes you're so groggy that you can't get with it. So be very careful about what you take. I know that that is something that's very common and suggested. Just be very careful about how much of it you take, and if you're drinking or something, be very careful. We don't want to carry you to the airport.
I'll amend that. We won't carry you. Yes?
Do you know the luggage, like,
On the international, I believe it's 44 pounds is what they've said. It's like 20 kilos is the limit. Plus you can bring on a personal item, which can be a backpack, a purse, whatever.
It used to be 50, I don't know if it is, but the bigger issue is when we fly regionally with Brussels Air, sometimes the littler airlines have a different thing than United, who's going intercontinental. So
Yeah.
that's probably what we need to check, Brussels Air.
You can have a ladies, a backpack and a purse to get on the airplane. You can have both. Or if you have a rollaway and a purse, the purse is really not considered anything other than a personal item. So you may also have your backpack.
And if we were gonna switch clothes, we'd probably do it at the airport.
Yeah, once we land.
Yeah, so it might be good to actually have your change of clothes in your backpack if you were going to have business casual. Assuming that you're not just going to wear that you're not flying business casual, which you could do.
And you also got an email from Center for Global Engagement on that iNext insurance. I don't know how many of you have done it yet. It is a rather cumbersome application process, but it is worthwhile. Because when I flew to St. Gallen in Switzerland, my luggage got lost in London Heathrow for 3 days. So the insurance covered me to be able to go out and buy some clothes to wear for a couple days. So while you get into that paperwork, I know it seems a little complicated, please fill it out. It's it's really going to benefit you in case they lose your luggage or if, any little minor accident.
Did you
that
get
could
that?
do- Yes, you did. It's called iNext.
I got it.
Yeah. I've already filled it out.
Check it, like last week, maybe sometime. So go ahead and fill that out. You'll be happy you have it if you need it.
Other questions? Yes?
Would you recommend getting a phrase book? Or is it not necessary, do you think?
Just use an app. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. Anything else?
Did you talk about money?
No.
Prior meeting?
No. They talked about that with the Center for Global Engagement, because they had to go to a meeting.
Oh, these
Yeah.
guys did, okay.
They discussed a lot of that stuff. All right, if you have no other questions, we will see you at the airport then, on May 13th. It's gonna be a great trip.
Be on time.